Hello everyone, welcome back to a new episode of Here For The Craic with me, Emma Neill. I hope you're all doing good and getting back into the swing of things since the new year. It has taken me a long time to recuperate and just even try to get there. I don't know what it is. I think it was just consistent days of rotting on the sofa and just binge watching things. And it was just and my sleeping pattern was so out of whack. And even if I did try and make myself get up early and go to something, I'd book myself in for an early class and I'd get up and go to it. And then I would just be so exhausted and come home and sleep for another 2 hours and then try and carry on with my day. But then I'd be angry at myself and still a bit drowsy. I don't know. I've just felt so weird. And I think I really needed that night away to kind of shift that energy. I felt so refreshed and invigorated when I came back from that little night away, even though it was literally, thing is about staying in a hotel for a night, it's not even 24 hours because of when you can check in and check out. Now, to be fair, I did get a full 24 hours because of the way it worked, because I booked in a treatment the next day in the spa, and if you get a treatment, then you can use the facilities from 9 a.m. till 6 p.m. So that's a bit of a tip for you actually. If you're ever staying in a spa hotel, either book a treatment for your first day, and then that means you don't have to wait till the 3 p.m. check-in. You can just go and use the facilities from 9. Or, well, I don't know if this is for everywhere, but it is the case for where I stayed, which was the Saved Honoured. Or book it for your last day, and then it means you still have to check out at 11, but then you get access to everything anyway. So you just put your stuff in the car, put your stuff in the lockers that they provide. They give you a new robe and everything, and you can use all the spa facilities. So yeah, I did get a full 24 hours, which was really nice, and got a hot stone massage, which was the first time I've ever got that. I think have I got a hot no I think that's the first time I've ever experienced that, because in my head I was thinking, do they just set them on your back? Because when you see the photos of massages and of hot stone massages, and it's just a woman lying there and it's just hot stones placed in a line down her back. Turns out that's not what they do. They use the stones within, they put the stones in the palm of their hands and use it to rub out your knots. It's sensational. I honestly couldn't recommend it more. I mean, pricey enough, but you do expect to pay a decent bit of money when it's a spa hotel. I will say, I don't think the Saved Honoured is a 5-star hotel in my eyes. I don't really think it gives 5-star hotel energy. I don't know how the whole starring system works with hotels. I do know, however, that having a pool and spa gives them an extra star. So maybe just from them having that is why they're able to get the 5 stars. But to me, it wasn't really giving luxury 5-star hotel experience. Don't get me wrong, it was gorgeous and I really enjoyed myself. I had the fright of my life though when I came into the pool area on the first day, on the day I was checking in, and there was just so many screaming kids, all jumping and splashing in the pool, shoving each other in, jumping in on their noodles, and I was oh, okay, this is what we signed up for here. There's me thinking I'm getting this really relaxing spa experience. Now luckily family time ended at 5:30. This isn't me saying, by the way, that kids shouldn't be allowed in pools or anything like that. Obviously they need to have spaces for that, but just in my head, that's not what I was expecting. That's not what I thought I was paying for and getting myself into. Anyway, family time ended at 5:30 and the kids cleared out, and after that point it was a lot more what I had in mind. I think also because it was a Sunday, so lots of families, that's their weekend activity, bring the kids to go swimming. So then on the Monday it was so quiet. So yeah, I had a lovely experience, and I think I just needed to get out for a night to just shift that really stagnant energy that I had, and I was just really struggling to shift. And that's not to say that you have to go and stay in a hotel to shift that at all, but sometimes you just need a slight change of environment, or a slight switch up in your routine, or just something to spark that shift. Because if you're just kind of waking up and doing the same thing and getting annoyed at yourself, and it's almost becomes this redundant cycle. So I'm really glad I did it. To be honest, if I didn't get the deal that I did, because I got a decent deal because it was so last minute, if I didn't get that, I think I'd be a bit raging. I don't think I'd be that happy to pay the normal price. Like I think normally it's like 350 quid for one night. Now obviously that covers for two people. Like the cost of a room is for two people, but I was just staying there myself, so it was just for one. I got it for 170, which I still think is expensive, but maybe more understandable, I guess, for a 5-star hotel. I do think like accommodation and hotels and Airbnbs and everything in Ireland has like got so insanely out of hand. Like I'm sorry, but those little Airbnbs that are cabins, like they're actual tiny little cabins that fit nothing more than a bed and a sink, charging you 350 quid for one night. Catch yourself on, please. Like, I don't know how we've gotten to this point. It's crazy behavior. I'm going to do a full review either on my Instagram or TikTok of my full experience, but yeah, that was probably the highlight of my week, or the peak of my week, sorry. Oh my god, another peak, right? So one of my goals for 2025 is to start swimming more, whether that just be like swimming in pools or cold water swimming. But I just know it's so unrealistic to think I'm going to be cold water swimming constantly in this weather when it's this cold. So I joined a gym with a pool. And this morning I went for a lovely little swim. I got up at 7 and went for a little swim at 7:30 and then finished it off with a 10-minute sauna. And it was just the most gorgeous way to start a morning. Like 10 out of 10, highly recommend. If you have a gym with a swimming pool near you, you should get on that shit. There's something so relaxing about it. Oh, I was talking about this in my ins last week, wasn't I? That swimming is in for 2025. It's just so calming. It's so nice. And if you try and get to it when it's not too busy, because I hate an overcrowded busy pool and people, you know, when you're accidentally like slapping each other in the pool, like your legs are like kicking each other in the pool. I hate that so much. So yeah, try and like find a time that the pool is quite quiet. Also, I hate when people think the sauna is like a social area and you go in and like all the men are chatting to each other. Shut the fuck up. I was actually just listening to I'm Grandmom's podcast and they were talking about their ins and outs, and one of their ins was respect for quiet spaces, and they're so right, because across the UK and Ireland people don't give a fuck about quiet spaces. Think about it, like saunas, public transport, I can't even think of anything else, but oh my god, so I'm still a member of the gym that doesn't have a pool that I normally go to because I actually just prefer the gym part of it. So I've basically just joined a second gym to just access the pool of it, which I know feels like a waste, but I'm really going to try and get my money's worth. But basically in my like original gym, there's no pool, but there is a sauna and steam room. Now I don't use it very often because I don't know, I just always feel like after a workout when you're like already sweaty and you're in like your workout clothes, the thought of going into a sauna in that, and I'll forget a change of clothes, and like I just feel like the sweat is like then sinking into my pores even more from being in the sauna, and it just doesn't feel right. I don't know, like to me a sauna is for like when you're swimming, so I don't use it that often, but there would be sometimes I would use it, and that sauna was the epitome of a fucking men's meetup social circle thing. They're all just shouting at each other, having a laugh, and then they start trying to bring you in on the conversation. You're like, no, this is not what I wanted from this. Okay, I just wanted 10 minutes of peace in the sauna. That was not the vibe of the one I went to today, which was really nice. I actually don't have a pit of this week because it's only been a few days since I last recorded, so there hasn't been enough time for a pit, and hopefully it stays that way. Well, maybe the pit is just how fucking cold it is all the time at the moment, but I'm like, fingers crossed, I think within the next week we're going to turn a corner and that's going to be it. Nah, that's such bullshit because there's literally been years where it snowed in February and March, so I don't know why I've got that into my head. Do you know what it is? I looked on the weather app the other day and I saw that by the end, or either by the end of this week or the start of next week or something along those lines, but within the space of the next week, it's going up to 11 degrees, and I was like, that's it, that's winter over. Do you know what? You forget that there's like a whole second half of winter after Christmas and New Year. Do you know what I mean? Because you don't really mind it being winter on the lead up to all of that. Like there's something so cozy and fun about it being winter on the lead up to Christmas and New Year. And then it hits the new year and you're like, oh shit, yeah, we've actually got another like 2, maybe 3 months of this, which is bleak. It's always times like this where you look at like people that live here that are from Australia, people that have moved to the UK and Ireland that are from Australia, and you're like, I feel so bad for you because why have you've chosen to do this to yourself? You have actively moved here and chosen to do a UK and Irish winter. That's insanity. Oh my God, my recommendation for this week. I'm quite late on the bandwagon to this one because loads of you recommended this to me when I was asking for audiobook recommendations. Julia Fox's book or audiobook, Down the Drain. Insane. Julia Fox, the woman that you are. Wow. I was shook. Now, I actually did try and start her book as an audiobook a good while ago, and for some reason just didn't click with it. I think it was her voice. I don't know. I was just zoning out a lot. I didn't really know what was going on. And I will actually say, I think she needed to mention her age a little bit more throughout the story. I was getting a bit lost as to what age she would be, and then she'd randomly throw in the fact that she was still only 12, and I was like, wait, what? We've just gone through all that and you're still 12 years old. So I think just like a little bit more of like timekeeping age-wise throughout the story would have been nice. I wouldn't have got maybe as lost. But that aside, what the fuck? The life that girl has lived is crazy. And then for her to be where she is now and be able to reflect on all of this and tell her story and be the mother that she is to her child and everything. I just think she's such a woman, and I think her audiobook was amazing. I highly recommend it. Well, like if you'd prefer to read it, obviously do that, but she narrates it, which is really nice, because I've always said I really like self-narrated memoirs. I find them the most like easy to listen to audiobooks. There's just something about someone telling their own story like that just makes it that bit more engaging. And yeah, I think before maybe the American accent just threw me off a little bit, but as I got into it, I didn't even notice that, to be honest. So yeah, that's my recommendation for this week. Oh guys, we're in my completed dressing room today. I mean, you can't really see anything. I'm literally sat in front of the wall. I need to get some funky art now for my house, because I feel like I've got to a nice point where it does, like I've actually got furniture in every room, and like it actually, well, there's actually one room that's like a bit of a shit show. It's just got piles of clothes in it waiting to go on Vinted. But yeah, I'm at like a nice point where it does feel like homey and cozy, and I've got most things apart from like I need to get curtains still. That's a big thing that I still need to get. So then the last thing is art. And I always said, I was like, I'm not gonna jump in too quickly and buy like any art before I know what I want. I think you need to like be in the spaces and know what kind of vibe you want for each room before you even start thinking about putting shit like that on the walls. Like that's like a very final decorative thing for a house to me. Do you know what I mean? That's like a, once you've finished absolutely everything, then you can start thinking about artwork. So yeah, if anyone's got any like cool artist or print recommendations, please throw them my way, because I'm on the market for some art, although art is wildly expensive. So, you know, it's not something you go out in a week and buy all your art for your house or anything for. It's definitely something you build over time and build a bit of a collection. But yeah, I definitely want to start thinking about it. Okay, let's get into this week's podcast topic, shall we? Now, I will recommend, if you are listening to the audio version of this, I think this is a good one to maybe watch. I think this is my recommendation to you anyway, of how you listen to this podcast. But obviously, you do you. If you want to listen to it in the car, in the gym, or wherever you are, you do you. That's fine. But I feel like this podcast, you should sit down with me, sit on the sofa, sit at your table, sit in your bed, get your journal out, and we're gonna do some goal setting together. Make a little cup of tea, grab a snack, because I'm going to talk about some journal prompts. I'm going to show you what I've done in my journal, and we're just going to talk through the process of goal setting and yeah, just all the different steps. So I think it'd be a really nice one to like sit down and kind of pause it as I'm telling you the different steps you can do it yourself, or just take a little mental note and do it later if you're listening to it as the audio only version. I used to have such an aversion to goal setting because it just freaked me out a lot, to be honest. I didn't want to think about that. I didn't want to disappoint myself. I didn't want to look back on the year and think, what the fuck, basically. Like, I've done none of that, and just like set myself up for failure. I think part of me just like also, sometimes I can be really like, I don't know what I want, so I don't want to think about it. Do you know what I mean? Like long term, 5 years, 10 years, don't have a baldy. So like, why would I sit down and try and navigate that? Like, why not just like see what happens and let it play out? And like, that's fine. And I think that's actually a lot of fun in life comes from just like seeing what happens. But I think that also requires a level of like putting yourself out there and being open to certain things, and like also maintaining habits within that, if that makes sense. So like making sure you're like going to these things, or making sure you're saving money to go traveling, to like be open to those experiences. And so no matter what, like even if you are one of those people that just wants to wait and see how it goes, there still is a level of like setting goals even within that, even if you are a bit more lax about it, just to be able to allow that life for yourself, if that makes sense. And so I think in recent years I've been a lot more attracted to goal setting. But I think I used to think of it as like they had to be all these like big crazy goals. And actually when you're thinking of like, I know 1 year feels long, but really 1 year goals is kind of short term. Like it's maybe medium term. I'd say short term is like 1 to 6 months. Well, no, 1 to 3 months. And then medium term is like a year, and then long term is like 5 years, 10 years. I'm still like, I'm not thinking about my life in 5-10 years time. I don't know what I'm going to think by next year. I feel like I change as a person every single year. So like, how am I supposed to know what I want for myself in 5 years time? Like, I don't know that. And I'm not someone who can sit down and be like, okay, this is where I want to live, and this is how many kids I want to have, and this is how many pets I want to have. And I'm just not like, I don't know. Don't ask me. Don't freak me out like that. I do not know. And so my goals are much more like oriented around how I want this year to go. And I think that just feels a lot more achievable and realistic to me. Now, if you are like a 5-year, 10-year goal person, and you can work back from that and then kind of implement how you want this year to go according to that, you go ahead and do you. But I'm just giving you a little bit of context as to where I'm at with my goal setting and how I like to do it and how I like to think about it. Because I think I used to think of goal setting as this big crazy thing that I was setting myself up for failure, and now I just see it as a lot more like, okay, let's get my shit together in the order I want it to be together, so I can start making moves in a direction that feels right to me, as opposed to a direction that's like very specific. Do you know? I hope that makes sense. Sometimes I think I just yap and don't know if anyone actually understands what I'm saying. Okay, so step 1 in the goal setting process is to reflect on the previous year. It's so easy to write your goals for, let's say, 2024 and forget they ever existed. You know, they get lost in an old journal, never to be found. And that's why I think, as good as it is to, I love a handwritten journal, and actually everything I've done today and everything I'm going to show you is going to be in a handwritten journal. But then I also transfer everything over to a digital version that I can type in 2025 and it'll come up straight away, 2025 goals, so that it's very accessible for this time next year when I want to reflect on 2025's goals. And so, you know, whether you want to do that in literally your phone notes app or your laptop notes app, I do it on a website called Notion. I literally plan my entire fucking life on Notion. I do like all my daily schedules. I do my to-do lists on there. I do my goal setting. I do everything on Notion. Notion is love. Notion is life. But yeah, not everyone uses Notion, obviously. So whatever works for you, if you want to do it on an Excel sheet, a Word document, whatever the fuck works for you. I just think something that's a file that you can search 2025 goals and immediately access it. You know, you don't have to go sifting through pages of things and journals and things like that. So, step 1, we're reflecting on 2024's goals. This feels daunting, I know. And I'm not the type of person, and this is something I want to change this year, I'm not the type of person that keeps looking on that throughout the year. I'm in the habit of, at the minute, of only looking at that once it hits then this time, and I'm reflecting on the entire year. But really we should be looking at that on a monthly basis to keep checking in and make sure we're on the right path and that those goals are still even things that we want, you know? So yeah, that's something I want to make sure I do this year, is to actually keep looking back on those on a monthly or even every other month kind of basis, and just kind of check in with myself, and if there's anything I've completely forgotten about, be like, oh shit, yeah, I need to action that. So we're going to actually write down our entire list of goals for the previous year, for 2024, so that we can go through and tick or X them off. You can annotate this as well. I just think it's nice to go over everything and see. So for example, reflecting on 2024 goals, I've written learn to snowboard, which I've ticked, but then written beside it, attempted. Salsa dance, I did not achieve that. That's an X. Travel, tick. Better at planning my working day. No, cross. I'm going to get into how we make goals more achievable throughout the episode, but that's a good example of something that I wasn't specific enough about. Like, what does better at planning my working day mean? And how are you going to do that? Bitch, that's why you didn't do it. Stop picking my lips. No. Get my garden sorted. I did not do that. Actually, that was out of my control though, because it was so hard to get anyone to get my garden sorted. Read 24 books. Did not achieve that. I read 18 books this year, which is still good, but it's not the 24 and means I need to think about how I'm going to make sure I'm reading more consistently this year. Start the book club. Tick. Complete dry Jan and another sober month. I actually ended up completing another 3 sober months and spent 4 months sober last year. And as a result of that, I've decided I'm going to spend 4 months sober in 2025 as well. Prioritize my fitness. Tick, but could do more, I've written. Manage my finances better. X. Go to a camping music festival. X. But this is a good idea of something that actually I don't care to tick off anymore. And this is why we need to reflect on our goals from the previous year, because they might not be relevant in your life anymore. They might feel so insignificant, but they might also be like, well, that's nothing in comparison to what I'm dealing with right now. And also they might just be not your vibe anymore. And I've just decided that as much as I love the idea of going to a camping music festival, I think that would actually send me into an anxious spiral. So I've decided that's not for me, and I can just appreciate it from social media. A staycation / a glamping trip. Tick. Start investing. Tick. Sit in / going out monthly date nights, kind of tick. Monthly hikes / big walks. I didn't do that, and that's something I really want to do this year. And set aside more quiet time. That was a cross too. Okay, so from your list that you now have of ticks and crosses, we're going to take that to the next page, and we're going to write at the top of the next page, what have I achieved this year? So now you want to write down everything that you ticked off on that list. And then you also want to create a new list and write everything that you achieved that wasn't on your like goals list, because you've probably achieved a lot more than what was just on your like 2024 goals. Also, these things can be like really tiny things, you know. If you learned how to make a tiramisu this year, fucking put it on there. Like, I'm all about celebrating the small wins. Make your list of achievements for this year as long as you want. You want to celebrate yourself. Celebrate this year and everything that you achieved this year. So yeah, obviously do the ones that you ticked off from your actual goals, and then all the other ones. Some on mine were, well, probably became the most mentally stable I've been in a while. Started recording in Spotify studios, got my dream built-in wardrobes, hosted in-person book club events, started interview / guests on the podcast, was a guest on other people's podcast, scuba dived, went on my first brand trip, and did a coffee collaboration. Okay, next page. What have I not achieved and why? So we're writing everything that we put an X to that we didn't achieve from our 2024 goals. And this time we're writing why we didn't achieve them. So here, a couple for me. I haven't actually finished this. I need to sit down and finish this myself. Salsa dancing. I was waiting on my boyfriend to go with. Maybe I should try a type of dance that doesn't rely on a partner. Just because when you're relying on someone else like that, not only are you relying on your schedules matching up, but also you're relying on them even wanting to do it in the first place, which I think he probably doesn't want to. It's just something I want to do, and I want to bring him with me too, because I do think it'd be really fun to do like a partner kind of dance. But ultimately my goal is to just like try a new type of dance. And so if achieving that looks like doing a different type of dance that I don't have to rely on someone else, then so be it. That's just a step I need to take. Planning my working day, I did not achieve. Getting better at planning my working day. Why? Bit all over the place. Don't know how long it takes me to do things. Unproductive sometimes when I have full days at home. Yeah, you just want to go through every single cross one and work out why you didn't achieve it. And if it's still something you want to achieve, then how can you implement things to make sure you will achieve it this year? Like, what are you going to do differently, essentially? And you can't work that out until you know why you didn't achieve it in the first place. After we finished reflecting, we've celebrated the wins, whether they're big or small, and we've examined what we didn't achieve and why. Step 4 is the mind mapping step. And this is actually my favorite part because I love a good mind map. It reminds me of like being in school or something and doing the little bubbles around the words. There's something so satisfying about a good mind map. Now, for the mind mapping part of our goal setting, I'm going to tell you what my headings are for the different little mini mind maps, but this is open to interpretation. You can do whatever suits you best. So I do 6 little mini mind maps. My first one, well, no particular order: work, finance, home, personal, health, and relationships. Not all of those mind maps will relate to everyone. For example, if you're renting a room within a house, like home isn't going to be one of your mind maps, you know. Maybe you've got something in your life that's a lot more apparent and like deserves its own kind of, you know, heading. Let's say you do art as like a hobby, but it's like very prevalent in your life. You might have like your art as a mind map title. You don't have to do 6. You can do whatever works for you. But basically you want to come up with like all the kind of main pillars in your life that you want to think about your different goals for. Like if your skin's really important to you, you might have like a whole separate skin mind map. Do you know what I mean? I don't know. You do you if you're that into your skin. Anyway, as I said, I've got work, finance, home, personal, health, relationships. You could break up relationships again. Like this is just another example of how you could break it up if you wanted to break it up into like family as one, friendships as another, dating as another, whatever works for you, as I said. So the mind maps is when you can just be messy and you can just do little scribbles of short form. You don't need to think about doing like full sentences or how you're going to action things and plans and, you know, anything like that. It is literally just for you to get all of your kind of ideas that are going on in your head for how you want this year to look in all these different aspects onto the page, and then you can start thinking about actual plans to set those things in stone and like make habits out of them after this. For me as well, because I'm like a little bit of a perfectionist, I guess, when it comes to like journaling and like wanting things to look nice, I find mind mapping really helpful because you can just be messy with it and you don't need to like think about things being in order of importance or moving on to the next section and like missing a part, but then you've no space for it above. Do you know what I mean? Mind mapping, you just fuck it all on the page. So for example, work. I don't know if you can see this, by the way. I don't know if my camera is focusing enough for you to see, but I've got like 3 mini mind maps on each page. So it's like a double page spread within the journal. Some have a lot more than others for me. So for work, I've written interesting and educational podcast guests. I'm not going to go through absolutely every single one of these, by the way, or we'll be here for ever and a day. Improve on my editing skills, have work-free weekends, have an assigned editing day that I spend in a cafe, more cozy long-form content. Finances, I've written make a separate account for taxes. If you're self-employed, I really highly recommend you do this because this is something I meant to do last year and I didn't do, but I need to do it this year. It's so, obviously when you're self-employed, you don't pay your tax until like, you pay it in like a lump sum instead of monthly. And as a result of that, you don't know what money is yours and what's not. And so I need to get in the habit of when I get paid from jobs, straight away working out what that is in tax terms and putting it into a separate tax account so that money is not visible to me. Because there's nothing worse than opening your bank account and thinking, I actually don't know if any of that is mine. I don't know if I have like any money to spend or if that's all tax. It's so confusing. So yeah, that's a goal of mine, is to make a separate tax account, to spend less impulsively. Hi Tigger, she's back. And to invest more this year. Because that was a goal I did actually accomplish last year. I feel like I didn't accomplish that many things. Well, it was probably like half and half. For home, I've written get curtains and blinds, buy some art, make progress with my spare room, because it's the one that I said is a complete shit show. Yeah, that's all really from, I need to get my garden sorted. Oh, I need to put that in there. Okay, 1 second, let me just write that down. That is such a priority for summer. Okay, some examples of my personal mind map. I've written consistent with reading, consistent with journaling, lower screen time, watch more movies, more sunset and sunrise watching, go on a solo trip / retreat of some sort, and go to more gigs, e.g. music gigs, comedy gigs, theatres and musicals, ballets, whatever that might be. I love a good show. I love a good gig. Okay, now for the health section, which is probably the one that is like, it's usually the health ones that are like hardest to stick to, aren't they? They're the ones that actually involve like lifestyle change, whereas, well, I suppose some of those personal ones do also. Right, so under health, I've got 4 months sober, 10k steps on average per day, monthly hikes, more yoga, because at the moment I'm probably only doing one yoga class a week because I feel like Pilates and gym has kind of taken over, but I need to get back in the habit of doing an evening yoga class. So I'm kind of aiming for like 2-3 yoga classes a week because it's so nice going to an evening yoga class and then coming back and feeling so like wind down and ready for bed. I want to dance, I want to swim, already actioned that, and I want to make sure I'm taking my greens every day and drinking enough water. This year I did not drink enough water ever. It was quite bad. I find I drink water the most when I'm in a school or like education or office setting. For some reason, when I'm at a desk in an office or in a school, like in uni or whatever, I will drink, no joke, 3 litres of water. Easy. Now, I'll be going to the toilet every 10 minutes, don't get me wrong, but like I don't struggle to drink. I feel like it's a boredom thing. It's like a constantly grabbing it out of boredom. It's almost like the way you would like constantly pick up a vape, but you're constantly picking up your water bottle. But now that I don't sit at a desk in an office or in a school environment, I don't have that problem. So yeah, the water drinking's just gone a little bit out the window and it's actually quite bad. So that's a big goal of mine. Okay, now for relationships, I've written make weeknight plans, do more sober activities, make dinner parties hot / do come down with me with a group of people, and yeah, some other bits that are a bit more specific that I'll not get into. But yeah, if you have like any goals for like dating, or if like you and your partner are just in a little bit of a lull when it comes to like you don't make enough effort with each other to do like date nights and stuff like that, you can throw all that in there and everything. Me and my boyfriend, we probably will try and stick to the like one out of house or in-house date a week. Or not a week, sorry, a month. It's a really good way to do it because you take turns on who's in charge of what. So like 1 month I'll be in charge of the out of house one, and then the next month I'll be in charge of the in-house one. We kind of did fall off a little bit towards the end, but not because we like weren't going on dates. Like we were still going out for dinner and stuff quite a lot, but it was like just with other people and there was a lot going on. And then when we were in the house, we like didn't want to be doing those like kind of at home date activities. We wanted to just like watch a movie or do whatever. So yeah, we'll restart that I think now in the new year. Okay, once you've finished your fun messy mind map, now we're going to create an action plan. So we're going to basically take all of those like headings that we used for our mind map and we're going to create now like lists of them, or you can do it on a spreadsheet. Actually, I feel like this would work really well on an Excel spreadsheet. We're essentially just turning each mind map into a listed version of that, because the mind map allows us to just be like messy with it and put all the ideas out there. But now we're going to get it into like a more concise list, right? So you want to do a list with the heading of each like heading of your mind maps, you know? So I'm going to have one list of work goals. I'm going to have another list of finance goals, another list of home, personal, health and relationships, right? And so obviously the mind map is short form, but for this we're going to do it a little bit longer form and get a little bit more specific. So for example, my goal of getting interesting and educational podcast guests, I'm going to write that as like a bullet point under my work category. But then after that, I'm going to write how I'm going to do that. So the steps I'm going to take in order to do that. And so for that one, I'm going to write, take a day in January to do some research and reach out to people, get some contacts if I need to through my manager, message people on Instagram, get people's emails, put up a question box on my Instagram story to get some ideas from other people of what they want to hear on the podcast. You basically want to be able to see very clearly how you're going to achieve that goal so it doesn't look as intimidating, you know? Like if I just see my mind map, interesting and educational podcast guests, just written like that, I'm like, okay, great, but like, who is that? How are you going to do that? How are you going to get them on? Where are you going to film with them? Do you know what I mean? So making these things just like a lot more, what is it they say goals should be? Smart, isn't it? Smart goals. Let's look up what that means. I don't actually believe that all goals should be smart though, because I do, and it's probably like within a business. Like obviously businesses want all of their goals to be smart goals, but like as a person, come on, we're not going to make every fucking goal like trackable to a T. Okay, so SMART goals stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. Yeah, so we're getting more specific. We want to make it a bit more measurable. There are going to be some goals in here, though, that realistically, it's hard to make measurable. For example, more sunset and sunrise watching. I'm sorry, I'm not making that measurable. Like, to fuck with your smart goals, do you know what I mean? I'm not sucking the fun out of sunrise and sunset watching by being like, okay, on every second Saturday of the month, I'm going to get up at this time and go see the sunrise. Like, that's just going to have to be one of those things that's going to be a bit more spontaneous, and I'm just going to have to try and remember to do that. I'm going to tell you though a method of how to remind yourself to do these things once we've passed this step, okay? But yeah, ultimately, not absolutely every single goal is going to be like measurable to a T and extremely specific in how often you're going to do it, but it is good obviously to make them a little bit more specific and measurable if you can, because that in itself just makes it feel more achievable. And time bound, I guess all of these are pretty time bound because we're talking about within the year, aren't we? But yeah, this is step 5. This is creating your action plan basically for the year. Don't freak out if you don't necessarily, as I said, for the likes of the more sunset and sunrise watching, if you don't have like a direct steps to take in order to achieve that goal, because it's not that, it's just not all of them are going to have elaborate things that you can do and steps you can take in order to achieve them, but there definitely will be ones within that you can make sure to set steps in place for and create like an action plan. So for example, my health list, I've got my 4 months sober, and my steps for that, I've already written the exact months out that I'm going to do sober, so that it's just set in stone and I don't need to think about it throughout the year, and it won't get to the end of year and be like, oh shit, I only did 3 months and now I'm at December and I'm not doing December dry because, I mean, there's so much going on in December, I'm not drinking. Do you know what I mean? So it just makes it that bit easier that I can see, okay, I'm doing dry January, I'm doing from mid-February to mid-March to St. Patrick's Day. I'm doing from after St. Patrick's Day for a month, and then I'm going to do sober October. Then also under health, I had swim more. So my action for that was to join the gym that had a swimming pool and try to go once a week. So yeah, you're basically creating lists of all those different headings, and within those lists telling yourself how you're going to action that so you can make sure you do achieve it this year. Okay, now on to step 6, which is actually my favorite part, and that is the envision step. You want to vision what your life looks like with all of these things in place, or with you achieving these goals. And so the way I do this is I write out my ideal everything. So I wrote my ideal morning routine. I wrote my ideal working day. I wrote my ideal nighttime routine. I wrote my ideal weekend. And I wrote my ideal travel plan / summer. Again, this is one of those things you can adjust to suit you. If you're not a morning routine person, why are you going to write out your ideal morning routine? You know, I mean, you still could, but just like, I guess it just not be as big of a thing. If you work for someone else, you're not going to write out your ideal working day because you're just going into the office from 9 to 5 and your working day is determined by what you have to do in work. So that's maybe more one if you're self-employed. As many things as you can write out, like your ideal scenario of, the better. So here's an example, right? I'm going to read you out my ideal morning routine. 6:45 a.m. wake up. 6:15 journal in car. 6:30 Pilates / gym / swim. 8:45 breakfast and read. 9 a.m. walk, weather permitting. That's how I'm going to get the step count up, is getting a walk in there to digest my breakfast. 9:30 shower and skincare. 10 a.m. coffee and start the working day. I'll not tell you all my ideal routines because I think I'll actually bore you to death. But the reason why I think it's so important to write these ideal routines or ideal days or ideal summers, right, is because, for example, that ideal morning routine I've just written out, there's actually nothing stopping me from doing that apart from myself. There is nothing, I'm the only thing getting in the way of me living out that ideal morning routine. That is very much within my reach. The only thing that makes that out of reach is me procrastinating once I get back from the gym and then not sitting down and like reading or going on a walk or just like, I don't know. Sometimes I don't know what I do with my time, prancing about the place doing sweet fuck all. And by the time it's like 12 o'clock, I'm like, oh my God, I haven't started my work today. Like, what am I doing? So just being a little bit more in control with your time like this and seeing how your morning's going to play out is so important because I don't want to waste time. But also it shows me that like I can do this. This is a morning routine that is very realistic for me, yet it's what I'm writing out as my ideal. And the only thing that stopped me from doing that is, as I said, procrastination and not sleeping in time. 2 things that I can control. There's no reason why I can't get up at 6:45 a.m. every single day. Well, maybe not the weekend. And also sometimes I like one little midweek lie-in, like on a Wednesday, a little 9 or 10 a.m. lie-in. But yeah, there's no reason why, like 6:45 a.m., what's 8 hours from then? This should be really easy. 10:45. That's not even early. I could go to bed at 10. I could be asleep at 10 and get 8 hours, 45 minutes sleep and still wake up at 6:45. That's so good. What am I doing? Why would I stay up till 11, 12, 1 o'clock when I can live out my ideal morning routine every single day? And that's why I think writing down your ideals of these things is so important, because you'll see how you can actually get to that point, because a lot of the time it is you from preventing yourself doing that. Look, don't get me wrong, I know that's not the case absolutely every single time. It might even be little things, like it might be within your ideal morning routine to go to a Pilates class, but that's not within your budget to do every single day. And so what's the alternative to that, you know? How can you do a Pilates class from home? Do one on YouTube. Join a Pilates app where you can follow the classes on that. Can you sub it for going to the gym? Can you sub it for going on a walk, going for a swim? Like writing out your ideal routines for all these different things is so important, because you start to like picture yourself actually doing that. Because it's all well and good looking at these like mind maps and these lists of goals and thinking, yeah, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. But how does that actually feed into your day-to-day life? Like where do all these things fit in? And so there's an example of me fitting, like already getting my steps in, getting my swim or my gym session or my Pilates in, looking after my skin, being better in terms of my work schedule by making sure I'm starting work at 10 a.m. Do you know what I mean? Oh, also I'm journaling every morning. Don't forget it. I'm journaling every morning at 7:15 in the car. And that's like another example of habit stacking. It's like I'm already driving to the gym. I'm already driving to Pilates or whatever it might be. Like bring your journal with you. Take literally 5 minutes before you get out of the car to do it then. And then you won't forget the rest of the day. And so yeah, it's working out how you can build all of these different things and these goals that you have for yourself into your daily routine. And that's why writing out these ideal things is so good. It gets you in the mindset. It gets you thinking, this isn't unachievable. I can do this. Also, if you have like ideal travel plans or an ideal kind of summer, it's good to kind of get the clogs ticking, thinking about, you know, if you need to book time off, if you need to start thinking about when would be best to go to certain places, or when would be best that falls over some holiday, so you don't need to book as many days off because it maybe falls over Easter or whatever it is. Do you know what I mean? It's good to like get these plans kind of in place, because me and my boyfriend are actually doing that at the moment, because we want to get everything kind of in the diary so he can book it off and kind of make the most out of the days that he has and get some places ticked off the bucket list. Okay, now this is a really fun part. This is still within the same step 6 of envisioning, and that is create your vision board. Now, I have to admit, I do think I came on the podcast this time last year when I was talking about my goals for 2024, and I think I did say that vision boards are a load of shite. And you know what? They kind of are, but I'm gonna go back on that a little bit, because, okay, when I came on and said that last year, that I think vision boards are a load of shite and they're a load of like, in my head, vision boards are, or were, like kind of giving like 2014 Tumblr, everything's trying to be very aesthetic, Pinterest boardy, skinny girls in bikinis on beautiful beaches, you know, very much giving like toxic Tumblr circa 2014 kind of vibes. And no harm, but I've no interest in creating a vision board with all that shit on it that I see every single day to just put me into a negative mental spiral. Like, absolutely not. That's not what I want to have as my computer background, to send me over the edge in the midst of winter looking at gorgeous 6 foot tall tiny girls in gorgeous expensive bikinis on a beach in Australia. No, don't need to see it. And that's what my perception of a vision board was. And so as a result, I really rejected that. I was just like, no, that's not something I feel like I need to do for myself in terms of envisioning this year. Sorry if my camera died, I'm back. Ultimately, I thought that vision boards were a load of shite and they were putting everything down to being this kind of like perfect aesthetic vision board that just wasn't realistic, because let's face it, our lives aren't on a day-to-day basis, they're not aesthetically pleasing. We don't have like, you know, Pinterest board looking lives, and I hated that it was putting our goals for the year down to this kind of like aesthetically pleasing Tumblr era looking vision board. And I still stand by that. I think, you know, getting too caught up in the kind of aesthetics of a vision board could be quite damaging, especially for people that maybe have like goals to lose weight and things, that want to like put in pictures of their ideal bodies. Like I do find that a little bit problematic, because ultimately you're never going to have the body of someone else, and so like putting someone else in there as your kind of like fitspo or whatever, I'm not really about that. Like I think you should concentrate on like being the best version of you, and so I completely leave out like body types and food and anything like that of the vision board, right? But what I have this year come to love the vision board for, I mentioned this earlier when I was talking about your goals that you might have that aren't as measurable, and you might just need a little bit of reminding of to do them, you know, like I said, for the wanting to go and see more sunrises and sunsets, I'm not gonna like create a big action plan as to how I'm going to do that. I just want to make sure I'm reminded of that every now and then. And so my vision board for 2025 is a compilation of images of things to remind myself that that's what I want to do. I'm going to try and show you my vision board now. It is just a Pinterest board. I haven't made it into like a, you know, like a file to set as a wallpaper or anything like that. It is a work in progress, shall we say. But it's full of things that I just want to remind myself throughout the year to kind of make sure I'm being consistent with and just keep tabs on. Again, I don't know if you're going to be able to see this, if my camera's going to focus, but like I've got a stack of books. I've got people out paddleboarding at sunset, because I do actually have a paddleboard that's probably been used once in my life. I've got a picture of someone on a yoga mat. I've got people swimming. I've got people hiking. I've got a picture of a dinner party here. A picture of someone's handwriting in a journal. Pictures of Marrakesh, because I really want to go to Marrakesh this year. Someone with a face mask on to remind me to look after my skin. And so, although I know looking at this, it does look very kind of aesthetically pleasing, clean girl energy, Tumblr vibes, I'm not using it in a toxic way of like, my life has to be perfect and aesthetic at all times. I'm using it as little reminders to myself to incorporate these things into my life. Not like your life has to look like this every single day, day in, day out, because that's so unrealistic. And I actually, although yes, I do, like everyone finds joy in the exciting and fun and Instagrammable parts of life, you know, the fun travel plans and the exciting events, date nights, you know, all those fun things. Yes, we obviously find joy in them, but I also find a lot of joy in just like the mundane, you know, and I think I wanted to capture that in my vision board of just like the mundane of drinking your greens, reading, journaling, doing yoga, looking after your skin, like doing your skincare. I've even got a picture of a cinema in there. No, it is quite an aesthetically pleasing cinema. They don't look like that in Belfast, I can tell you that. Maybe a couple do actually. But yeah, they all just serve as little reminders of things I want to do, like watch more movies in 2025. And those are all kind of things that aren't as measurable, as I said. Now I know like there's pictures of hiking, and I do have a goal for that, to try and like plan a hike a month, and that is a bit of a action plan, I guess, where I can look at January and think, okay, let's get a hike sorted, let's get that organized, see if anyone else wants to come. So that one's one that's a bit more kind of actionable, whereas I feel a lot of those other ones are more just kind of things I need to just keep reminding myself and keep checking in on. And so that's how I'm using my vision board for 2025. I implore you to do the same, but I also implore you to keep out any kind of toxic, you know, body types, body checks. If you want to include like a picture of some healthy food or something to inspire you to cook nice home healthy hearty meals, go for it. But I've just like completely left all of that kind of stuff out of mine, because it's not really it's not what I want to fuck with on my vision board, in all honesty. But yeah, that's how we are going to use goal setting to smash 2025 and actually be able to see how we're going to achieve these things and implement them into our lives and make them a part of our new lifestyles and new habits. Habit stacking is always a great one. I feel like I could have delved into that a little bit more. Maybe we can talk about habit stacking in another episode. I absolutely love this wee journal, by the way. I got it on Amazon. I'm probably like halfway through it now, but it's got one of those. Well, I obviously a journal, you'd like to have one of the ribbons so you know where you are in it, but it also has the little elastic to keep it shut, and then it's got a little elastic on the side where you can put your pen or pencil in, so you're never without one, because I always think that's the case. Like, you'll bring your journal with you and then be like, for fuck's sake, I don't have anything to write in it with. So yeah, I can link that in the description if you want. There's nothing like a new journal to get you motivated to do your goal setting and just start journaling in general. But I always tell myself I can't get a new journal until I finish one. But then sometimes old journals have bad juju and you just need a new one. So if you feel you need to not erase 2024, but you need to get rid of that bad energy of 2024 and get yourself a new journal, you do that, queen. Oh my god, guys, I have a little giveaway for you guys if you've made it this far. I wanted to do a giveaway for my loyal podcast listeners, the ones that make it to the end. I'm so sorry if you're a loyal podcast listener and didn't make it to the end. I'll put it in the podcast description, okay? I'll put it in the podcast description just in case any of you have stopped like very close to the end. Basically, I wanted to do a little giveaway just as a thank you to you guys for another gorgeous year, and yeah, just to give back to you for being the loveliest listeners ever and the most supportive people, and for all your kind messages. And yeah, I just appreciate you so much. I thought I would make up like 3 boxes of different things, and so I haven't quite decided actually what you should do to enter the giveaway. Okay, to enter the giveaway, comment on my most recent Instagram post. I've literally just decided this, with the wee, the wee fairy emoji. It's my favorite one. So comment on my most recent Instagram post. I'll give you a week to do this. So if when you're listening to this, my most recent post is a different one from when this came out on the Monday, don't worry. You can pick whatever post you want, whether it's the most recent or the one that came out the most closest to when this episode came out, and comment the fairy emoji, the little kind of like Tinkerbell one, and you'll be in for the chance of winning one of the boxes. They're just different boxes of some of my fave things. They've got skincare bits, makeup. One of them has a productivity method journal by Grace Beverly's brand, which I used to absolutely swear by when I was at uni. I loved them. Now I use the digital version of it, but the actual hard copy journal of it is so nice. What else is in there? There's like a Lush face mask. There's some of my fave things from Ulla Henriksen, which is one of my absolute favorite skincare brands. There's Inky List. There's a load of good things. Oh, there's a Sol de Janeiro set too. There's a gorgeous Sol de Janeiro set. So yeah, if you want to be in the chance for winning something from the giveaway, comment on my most recent Instagram post with a little fairy emoji, and I'll announce the winner. I might not fully announce it. I might just message you. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, I'd really appreciate it if you shared this episode on your Instagram story. That always helps me out so much. And as always, thank you all so much for your continued love and support on the podcast. It means the absolute world to me. I will speak to you in next week's episode. Bye.